So if you're in Denver and you don't accept housing, you got just a little bit of fentanyl addiction, not naming names, but something along those lines, and you don't accept housing, off to mandatory treatment you go. We've been talking about needing mandatory treatment, involuntary treatment for both addiction services and also just straight up mental health, right? There's just a whole bunch of crazy people running around, sometimes doing drugs, sometimes doing both, and they need help. But until these entities, until these cities that have just let this train wreck of homelessness go on for far too long, until they start doing some of this stuff, all you're doing is just playing whack-a-mole. You're just pushing people around, not getting to the root cause of the problem. Denver homeless encampment cracks down will include mandated addiction treatment, mayor says. What does that look like exactly? Let's get into it. Here we go. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston was clear Saturday when someone asked during a House 1000 town hall meeting, what will happen to those who say no to free housing? He said taking 1,000 people off the streets with accepting an offer of free housing, although it allows us to focus on much more rigorously on the enforcement of those who don't want the housing. He said those in the grips of addiction will be offered, and they put in quote, outpatient treatment, and if not, we will get you inpatient treatment. So he's saying, if you say no to housing, and if you're saying no to outpatient, we'll get you inpatient treatment. Interesting. Treatment is housing. We've talked about that so many times, right? Johnston made his remarks during a town hall meeting at Evans School in Golden Triangle. The forum answered questions from neighbors of proposed micro-community sites at North Bannock and North Eladi. Homeless advocates have forecast an expected enforcement sweep following the decommissioning of encampments. Those fears appear well-founded. So you do a sweep, you don't do any enforcement afterwards. What happens? Same damn encampment just comes right back. Literally, within days, it will come back. The APEC conference in San Francisco, that is a good example. Everything's just going right back to the way it was. The mayor's 2024 budget includes historic increases to the police budget to add 167 new police officers. At a similar town hall event last month, residents demanded to know what would happen to people who refuse services and who currently break the law by breaking into houses, stealing cars, and more. Basically just asking, what is happening with our junkie population? That's what they're asking. Because you guys aren't doing anything about it, right? And you know, the problem runs so deep because you might say, well, Sean, if you enforce treatment on somebody, what's going to prevent them from just going out and relapsing right after they're done? Nothing. And that's what makes some of this just so difficult is you can't force people to stay sober, even though it's in their best interest from a longevity from a life living longevity type standpoint and just their basic well-being as a human being. But they might argue, I just want to get high all day and do my thing. All right. Okay. But if that means you breaking into homes within the community, breaking into stores within the community, buying and selling illegal drugs, buying and selling of illegal goods, leaving needles wherever, just living willy-nilly wherever on the streets, just shenanigans galore. There's got to be a limit at which your shenanigans end at my ability to deal with your shenanigans, right? Where is that fine line? That's what we're talking about. We're just going to whisk people away to treatment left and right. I mean, it kind of sounds like that's where Denver is headed, right? And I'm all for it because something at this point in time is better than nothing. Just do something, right? Nike's just do it. My motto for Summit is just do something. Talk about your listing. You don't have to do anything about it. I mean, you should to get the property sold. Just do something. Make a post. Do something. Get the momentum going in the right direction. At one point, the mayor exclaimed in response to a question, you can get removed or you can get arrested. That is the structure. Oh, Let's read that again. I'm enticed. What's going on here? This has me almost excited. You can get removed or you can get arrested. That is the structure. Those are fighting words. Could you imagine somebody in Seattle saying that and getting away with it and not having massive pushback from the idiotic homeless advocates? Those people are the absolute worst. Just the worst. Hey, you're stealing their belongings. No, that's garbage that they left outside of their tent. It could be their belongings if you consider garbage their belongings. Advocates for people experiencing homelessness have sounded the refrain that you can't arrest your way out of homelessness. No, you can't, but you can sure slow it down, and you can slow down that effect from becoming even greater down the road. Hey, yeah, don't go to Denver. They'll arrest your ass. Get that word out on the street. Does that make sense? Makes absolute sense to me. You gotta do something. I am not a specialist of any kind, right? I mean, when it comes to this stuff, I don't know. But what I do know is you gotta do something somewhere. This whole sitting around, well, we're going to reimagine and rethink. We're going to pay that guy over there $200,000 a year and that woman over there $200,000 a year. They're all going to reimagine and rethink, shenanigans and willy-nilly going on from a homelessness standpoint. I know I just jumbled up a bunch of words in there because the whole game plan is just so jumbled up right now. All right, we got this entity over here. They're funded by this. They're funded by the state. We got WashDOT over here. We got Washington State Department of Transportation. We got Seattle Department of Transportation. We got the Homeless Authority. We got King County Regional Housing Authority. And we got 18 different entities all paying 2 or 3 people at the top of their tier a couple $100,000. And we wonder why we spend $250 million and things just look worse. Yeah. Well, that's how you get there. In September, Mayor Mike Johnston said he is working on a plan that would expand mental health and substance abuse treatment in the city's jails. He said during the budget hearing Thursday for the Denver Sheriff's Department that he is in preliminary discussions with the Sheriff's Department, nonprofits, and mental health care service providers to create such a program. All right, I'm listening. I'd say 2 thumbs up. Make it happen. You know what? You're not going to have one of these programs that's just the magic zinger. It's just the magic solution for everything, right? It's going to be one of these deals where you're going to have the Sheriff's Department, nonprofits, mental health service providers, and a litany of other people. And they're all going to need to work it out. But at the end of the day, so many of these homeless advocates, they don't want this to be resolved because then what's their job? Oh, yeah. At the same budget hearing, and same goes for me. Same things for me. Sean, you say you're going to have podcasts for days, but if Seattle squares away all of the ridiculousness going on over there, what are you going to talk about? I'll find something. Don't you worry. Don't you worry about me. I'll find something. It'll be good. Speaking of good, I was reading another Fox story and they're getting into somebody was redesigning the San Francisco's poop map because the poop map that Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida brought up, some people are saying that his representation on the poop map of San Francisco, the poops were just too big. And so it was out of scale and it made San Francisco look like that it's under a gigantic pile of poop, which some would say it does. It does. but I was reading that article and it's so ridiculous. When you have to have a map and you're arguing about the scale of the poop emojis on your map for your big North American city, San Francisco, when you're worrying about, it's making the poop situation look terrible. That's when you know you've got something wildly sideways, right? At the same budget hearing, Denver Sheriff Elias Diggins said his department may be expanding the duties of deputies. The 2024 budget also calls for a $2.5 million increase to Denver Health to continue providing addiction and mental health services in the jail. I mean, that makes absolute sense, right? Get somebody, you don't really know if they're just insane, they're on the juice, whatever that might be. you don't really know what the deal is. Well, then you've got somebody, mental health care specialist, that can interview them. You've already got that, determine whether it's an addiction issue, mental health care, or combination. And then right there on the spot, not have to wait for sometimes, months and months and months for that person to get in to some type of treatment. They can start working on it right away. Now, where this breaks down is the whole notion of you just got to let people do their own thing and they'll get sober when they get sober. Well, we got so many people out there right now that are choosing to just live this lifestyle and have taxpayers pay the bills. The taxpayers are getting a little upset, right? Because we've literally got hundreds of millions of dollars creating solutions for all this, and none of them are working. Because at the end of the day, if people don't want to get sober, they won't. They won't, but that doesn't mean that you give up on them. And if people have, hey, you know what? Treatment is better than going to jail or prison. Maybe I'll give that a run. Maybe I'll actually try and stick this out. There's always that one time in an addict's life where if they've gotten sober, they're like, yeah, this was my rock bottom. Maybe that needs to be going to jail for the 18th time. I don't know. I mean, send them to jail. I know you can't arrest your way out of it. But you got to put up some boundaries, and going to jail if you're doing drugs should be one of them, especially if they're causing people to die left and right, like the fentanyl crisis is, right? So mayor's vision is coming into focus. I will ask the mayor for a little bit of assistance in answering this question, Diggins responded. We've had preliminary conversations relative to what we're going to do to meet the mayor's goal and his vision of expanding services offered. Johnston said the services would be offered to people sent to jail for existing crimes that would be better served by having access to treatment rather than not. I'm all ears. I'm listening. This sounds like a reasonable solution. Anything is better than what we've got going on right now, which is just this system that is wildly broken. The mayor said the goal always is to provide treatment outside of the jail setting, but he said he anticipates an influx in the coming months of inmates that will need substance abuse and or mental health treatment. Any city that's got a major homeless problem has also got a huge mental health care crisis on its hands. It just does. And you know how you can tell that that is the truth? Go walk around the homeless encampments. Just go around, pick a nice afternoon. Say you were going to go to the, there's a new exhibit down at the museum. Well, now instead, you're going to go walk around the homeless encampments. Maybe you can do both. Maybe they're kind of the same area. Oftentimes that's the case, right? Downtown. I was in Oklahoma City for Thanksgiving. Some of you may know. I scoped out the two areas where there are a couple of tents in all of Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City has somewhere around, I think it was 1,000 homeless folks. That's a massive city. I mean, it's got a metropolitan base of 1.5 million, something like that. City confines, it's like 650,000. So not that much, about the same size as Portland. Could you imagine just having 1,000 throughout the entire Portland area, homeless folks? And you've got that in a couple of blocks sometimes in the more concentrated areas. But I scoped out the two places that I could find tents. And, in areas, because Oklahoma City is red and it's run by Republicans for the most part. And they basically say, hey, you can be here, but you can't break the law. You can't just be doing crazy stuff. And if you do, we're going to throw you in jail. And if you're openly buying and selling drugs, which is illegal in Oklahoma City, you're going to do some time. So the only folks that you really see sleeping in tents are right around where these shelters are, because they get all the services from there. And vast majority of them were older folks. You know what I mean? Like hardened people who'd been out on the streets for a long time. There was none of these young whippersnappers that were just, totally able to work and do all that kind of thing. I'm completely judging based on age, but that is one of the major differences between the population, homeless population in Oklahoma City and here in Seattle. Here in Seattle, we've got drug tourism. The same damn thing is down in Portland, LA, San Francisco. You got a bunch of kids who are saying, you know what? I don't want to work. I just want to do my drugs and call it good. And so they are able to do that in these West Coast cities that basically hand out everything but the drugs and then wonder, why are there more homeless coming here? I don't get it. Now, and it's my understanding Denver's got quite an issue as well. Denver has got a homeless population that does not give up. I can't imagine Mile High City being homeless during the winter. Little bit chilly, right? Kind of like Chicago. Yeah, that's not going to be good. Or New York City, where you've got the homeless competing with the illegal immigrants for all of this, shelter bed space. And that is not going to work out all that well. You're going to have some crazy stuff happen this winter. Just some crazy stuff because there's no more room at the inn. Your resources are low, right? And again, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, we've just coddled this situation. And that's how we get in such a bad spot where you've got a poop emoji map and literally it's on a national debate. And people are like, I think San Francisco is it's inundated with poop. No, look, you see, if you change the scale on the map and make the poops smaller, there's not as many poops. When you have to have that conversation about your city, I loved how somebody was trying to say, maybe it's all just dog poop. Maybe it's just dog poop. Like, no, this is human. If you don't know the difference, have you never changed a diaper and then looked at your dog take a poop? It's a little different, folks, right? I mean, you just kind of, I think so anyway. Ugh. Either way, it's not good. But getting back to our mandated addiction treatment, hell yeah. I'm not convinced the folks in Denver are going to go, oh, yeah, it's okay. Just do it. It's fine. It's so fun. There's going to be some kind of lawsuit, right? Going to be absolutely this activity, this action, it violates their constitutional rights to be high all the time and possibly kill themselves by taking fentanyl. Somebody's going to, the ACLU of Denver is going to throw a suit out there. Then all of a sudden this, thing that's actually going to help some people, hopefully, maybe, I don't know. Again, not an expert, but it's a step in the right direction. It's doing something. That's my Tony Robbins moment for the day, or my, here's your TED talk. Just do something. Literally anything is better than what's going on. Yeah, we're going to put up some fences. Now we're going to move them all out. They're all going to come back in. It's just this constant reimagining and rethinking and not really doing anything. That drives me absolutely batty. And this clearing of the homeless encampments and then putting blocks down, putting eco blocks, that doesn't really solve it either. It just pushes the people away. So this whole deal where you've got all these people living in these tents, that's a lifestyle choice. And you need to fight back on that lifestyle choice because this is impacting these communities immensely. Even if people don't want to recognize it, your crime goes up, your theft goes up, your car theft goes up. Just all those metrics go up when you've got people that are living in a tent on public streets, living the lifestyle of drugs. You can't have a safe community and have people living in tents willy-nilly with all the shenanigans that goes on. It's not a symbiotic relationship. It's not happening. All right. That's it for me on this one. Denver homeless encampment. I hope your crackdowns go well. I hope moving forward, you're able to actually do these because then you'd be the poster child and we'd be able to actually kind of see, all right, how'd that look? Yeah. Hey, maybe it's working, but just do something is kind of my bottom line. And this qualifies. It does 100%. I endorse this plan. Let's go from there. Thanks for being here. We'll catch up on the next one. Bye for now.